Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
We're just going to deal with it as it comes, just like IVF. They kept throwing us curveballs, we just kept dealing with it, and we made it through. So we're going to do the same thing with this adoption. There's no guarantees in life, but we're just going to keep on going.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home.
Welcome to episode 2 of Manual Not Included, the podcast where I'm kind of doing a dive into the start of my family and how it was built and kind of the struggles and the hardships and how we deal with a, quote, special needs child, which sometimes I don't like that term, but that's what everybody uses. The first episode, we kind of dealt with the struggles of using IVF and how we got our daughter. And I had mentioned that my wife had endometriosis. That's why one of the problems we had with getting pregnant. And recently, she actually finally, after years of pain and health troubles because of endometriosis, she got to have a hysterectomy. And I need to tell this story because it's kind of funny, slightly embarrassing on my part. Hysterectomy went fine. She's at home now, resting, relaxing, all that kind of stuff. And the day she had the procedure, I was bringing her bag to come visit her after she was done in surgery. And I walk in the front door of the hospital, and there's a volunteer there who can help take you where you need to go, kind of give you directions. I said, okay, whatever. I'm like, I need to go to the maternity ward. She says, okay, we're going to go up the elevator, 3rd floor. She says, congratulations, by the way. I said, don't congratulate me. I didn't have a child. And she kind of got awkward and went silent, which is what I tend to do to people. But she tells me, 3rd floor, it's easy. You just head out to the right. You'll see signs for the maternity ward. No problem. I say, okay. So I turn right out of the elevator. I'm walking down the hallway. I'm seeing signs for everything but the maternity ward. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Okay. I'm walking, and there's a nurse walking behind me. I kind of stop and say, excuse me, would you mind helping me? I'm like, I'm trying to find the maternity ward. She's like, oh, sure. You just come up here and then turn right. And she's like, you know what? I'll just show you. I say, okay. So we walk up, and we come to this entryway on the right. And she's like, you see that little doorway straight ahead? You kind of go through there and to the right. That's the doorway in. I said, perfect. Thank you. So I got my wife's bag. I walk around the corner, go through the doorway, and I see this construction, temporary door there. I'm like, okay, that's weird. They must be doing construction in here. Open the door. I'm in the tiniest room ever that's taped off with this big piece of thick plastic in front of me, hard plastic. And I'm like, okay, so where's the little doorway in? Because the last one I had a makeshift door that you opened up with construction tape around it. I said, okay, where is it? So I'm feeling around this hard piece of plastic. I'm like, how do I get in here? I'm pushing on things. I'm tapping. I'm getting really frustrated. I'm maybe slightly cussing, nothing bad, but loudly saying how the heck do I get in here? What's going on? Type thing. And I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting too noisy and frustrated. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I turn around and I leave this little room, and right in front of me, because I took the one entrance in, I didn't take the main public entrance, I see a sheet that says temporary maternity ward entrance. I'm like, oh, that's why. So I go around the corner to the temporary entrance, and I go through the doorway, and they have the front desk where the nurse sits, and I see her there, and she looks like she's trying not to laugh. She's definitely smirking. She's trying not to laugh. And I look where she's sitting right in front of, and it's that hard piece of plastic that I was just behind that is clearly just frosted. So for the couple minutes, she could see my silhouette and my hands running all over this piece of plastic, banging on it, and she could plainly hear me getting frustrated. So that first visit, she was definitely stifling laughter. Then every time I came to visit after that was a definite smirk on her face. So there we go, an embarrassing story of how I tried to visit my wife the first time in the hospital. And like I said, she's all good. She's resting at home. The procedure went absolutely perfect, they said. It's all good. So we're going to continue now on our story to get our son. In the last episode, I ended it with saying, I texted my wife and saying, I might have signed us up for a private adoption. So I went home that night and she yelled at me for texting her that I signed us up for a private adoption, and then it went into the live news, so I couldn't respond to her text. So she was a little antsy. She's a bit of an overthinker. In that hour time, she already had a million questions to ask me, and I said, I don't have a single answer for you because I don't know what's going on. So step one for us was to get more information. So we were going to talk to the family. It's a foster family who also has adopted a few kids that they fostered, who deals kind of directly with the birth mom. So we met them, wonderful people, especially what they do. They foster a lot of children before they get adopted. And met them. They kind of give us the lowdown on the birth mom. And I'm not going to go into specifics on why the birth mom can't keep her children. That is not anybody's business for me to give. So we talk to them, and they say, we can set up a meeting with the birth mom at our house. She can come over, and you can meet her. We said, okay. And that first night drive home, we're just kind of like, are we really going to do this? Is this something we can do? Okay, like, we'll just take it one step at a time. We'll meet the birth mom, see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen. So a couple days go by, we meet the birth mom. She's nice. We ask a few questions. Nothing too extreme, anything like that. It's quite personable. And this starts off a 6 or 7 week journey of us being fine with having no more kids, kind of dealing with IVF and being done with having kids, being content, to getting another child in our life. And we literally gave away all our baby stuff because we were done. And in that short amount of time, after my sister-in-law gave birth, 3 days after, he said, hey, I'm sorry, but we might need all this stuff back because we might not actually be done. So the 6 or 7 weeks turned out to be an intense, crazy job interview because you're trying to be yourself around the birth mom, because in the end, she's the one who has to pick you. So you're trying to be yourself, but you're also kind of like a job interview version of yourself, or you're going above and beyond, but you don't want to seem too phony. It's like this fine line you're trying to walk for the next 6 or 7 weeks, because at any point in time, literally at any point in time, she can change her mind. She can say, I don't think I'm going to go with you guys. So the deeper you get into this process, the more invested you get. We'd meet like every week or so. We'd take her out to dinner. We'd see how she's feeling, if she had any questions for us. It's just kind of like a weekly thing. And as we get more invested, my wife gets to go to, the doctor's appointments, which was very cool. She loved that. She asked, and birth mom says, yeah, sure, no problem. So she get to go to the doctor's appointments where she could kind of ask some questions. But of course, because you don't know the history of her. We don't know the history of the pregnancy, because she's already been pregnant for 7 months. We don't know what she's been doing, which can be a little bit of a stressor. But we like to, of all the struggles we've had in life, and I'm not saying we've had like the worst struggles, myself, I try to not dwell on the 1,000 things that could go wrong in the future or in the near future. I kind of focus on one problem at a time, and you deal with it as it comes along. As life keeps, trying to push you down, add more crap on you, make your life stressful, you just kind of take a breath and deal with it as it comes. I can't dwell on the 20 things that can go wrong with this adoption process. I'm just going to deal with between here and the next visit with her and building that relationship. My wife tries to be that way. I think I'm the calming voice in the relationship. She doesn't overthink. She's definitely a warrior, but she's also very good at lists and questions to ask, whereas I'm clueless when it comes to that. I would have no idea all the questions, the proper questions you need to ask the birth mom or the doctors. No idea. Wouldn't even cross my mind. She's the very, I'm going to write this down. This is what we need to do. Check, 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 check. And I'm the guy who's just like, don't worry. Everything will be okay. So we kind of balance each other out that way. And I remember having the conversation on one drive home where she's getting pretty stressful. And I said the same thing, like, we're just going to deal with it as it comes. Just like IVF. They kept throwing us curveballs. We just kept dealing with it. And we made it through. So we're going to do the same thing with this adoption. There's no guarantees in life, but we're just going to keep on going. So like I said, my wife was happy. She got to go to appointments, sonograms, all that. And because the uncertainty of it, you don't really want to tell anybody. Just like when you get pregnant, you don't tell anybody for the first 3 months because something could, God forbid, go wrong. Those 6 or 7 weeks, we told our parents and, of course, my sister-in-law because we needed all our baby crap back. And maybe a couple close friends knew. I didn't tell anybody at work. It just never going to come up because nobody was expecting it. So we kind of had to keep it a secret because we didn't want everybody asking us, everybody coming up, be like, oh, what's new? What's the news? What's the new news? What's the new news? And then all of a sudden it falls through. So the process is continuing on weekly. And one of the standout points I remember, and I don't even know if I told my wife this or not, but I remember we were at the hospital and it was really close to the due date. And I don't know if she went to the bathroom or, down to get a coffee or something like that. And it's just me and the birth mom. And I remember looking her, straight in the eyes. And I said, listen, I want you to know that you're making the right choice. I'm not saying we're the perfect parents, but, we love our daughter more than anything. And it's going to be the same with our son. You will never have to worry about his care. If you give him to us, we're going to love him no matter what happens. And I think we're pretty good parents. There's lots of good parents out there. I just think we're pretty good parents. I think we do a good job. We try our best. We put our kids before anybody else. And I remember sitting and have this heart-to-heart, and I'd like to think that was the one that did it. That's what I tell myself anyway. I give myself a pat on the back for that little heart-to-heart we have. Because I did. I put it all out there, put my heart on my sleeve, which I don't do very often. And I think it worked because I remember the day he was born was we were carving pumpkins. Me and my daughter and my sister-in-law was there at the time visiting. And the birth mom went into labor. And if you listen to the last episode, my waist took like at least 18 hours. So I'm like, oh, lots of time. So Lane got to be in the delivery room, and my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law were there, and they're like, you think you should go? I'm like, it's only been like 2 hours. I'm like, I got lots of time before I get the call. Lots of time before I need to go there. And Lane would text me and she's like, oh, contractions are getting closer. I'm like, yeah, still lots of times until I get the text. She's having the baby now. You need to come down here. I said, oh crap, time to go. But I wasn't allowed in the room anyway. So whatever, not a big deal. But I make it down to the hospital, and the birth mom, for the first part, I don't know how she does it, but Lane said that she literally had her son, held him for a few moments. The doctor looked over him, had him for a few moments, passed him to her and said, here's your kid. And then she took him around the corner to see me. And he was there, and he was healthy, and everything was fine. And you think that it's over, but unfortunately is even after he was born, the birth mom has 10 days afterwards that she can still change her mind. So those 10 days, it's already stressful having a newborn. Let's tack on, hey, at any second, you've grown and attached to this kid instantly that she can just say, nope, changed our mind. So it was still a secret for those 10 days. And guess what? Even after that, the 10 days went by, sigh of relief, everything was good. Now, the last bit of the puzzle is you need a judge to sign off on it. And that didn't happen. He was born at the end of October. That didn't happen. I believe it was either December 23rd or December 24th. I remember because it was right after the third time I saw The Force Awakens in theaters. The Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Because, yes, I am a huge nerd. And I went to my extended family's house for like a Christmas get-together. And it was pretty surreal because I remember that because they didn't know we had the kid. We literally showed up with this kid. And everybody's like, what is happening? So we kind of tell them the story and we say we're still waiting for the judge to sign off on it. And while we're there, the judge phones and says, yep, it's all finalized. He is your son. He's officially your son. So everybody gets, crying, just joy to go around. Everything's great. He is officially ours, which was a wonderful day. And after that, we could officially tell people. And everybody's like, what? Couldn't believe it. All that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But that time between the judge signing off on it and us having was really surreal sometimes because you can't just stay in your house. You have to take the kid out in public. You have to run errands, you have to go grocery shopping, and you would see somebody you knew really well, like you'd see a friend and they'd see this baby, and so you have to kind of do a quick explanation. It's like, well, but we still didn't want to tell that many people. So that's how we got our son, and it all went well and everything was good. And on the next episode, I'll kind of dive into more on what he was like with visitation and everything like that. But I just like to say that we were lucky through all the struggles that we've had to get our two kids, one through IVF and one through adoption. When we were looking at adoption the first time, this was over 10 years ago, my heart goes out to the people who IVF doesn't work for. IVF was probably around, at the time, it can get some government funding now, was around, $20,000, and adoption was $40,000. And we're not rich. We're just regular people, We're not rich or anything like that. And that's a lot of money. And the waiting, too. And we said, do we want to wait that long? Do you want to wait that long for a child? And even if you go overseas and look to adopt, there's so many rules and regulations. And, again, the waiting, and that's why we said we were fine with being done, and we got extremely lucky that I almost feel guilty about it because so many people have troubles having kids, and we just kind of, by luck, get this, phone call saying that somebody's looking for a private adoption. And the fees we had to pay were, we had to pay lawyer fees for us and a lawyer fee for the birth mom, so she didn't have to pay anything. Which was still wasn't cheap, let's be honest. When you get the final bill and the lawyer charges $150 every time she picks up the phone, and you see she picks up the phone and calls the other lawyer like 5 times a day, be like, really, you guys can't just, write it down on a sheet of paper and get all your questions out in one phone call and save me a few bucks? But, lawyers are lawyers. No offense to lawyers, I shouldn't say that. But we're extremely lucky. I said we've had our struggles to have kids, but it worked out in the end. Glass half full, I guess. So next episode, we'll dive a little bit deeper into my son. And don't forget, this podcast is just about sharing an experience because you don't ever want to feel alone. We've been through the struggles. Other people have been the struggles. If you want to reach out, that's wonderful. You can comment, you can message, anything you want. I'll answer any questions you like. Please, please, please subscribe to the podcast. Please share the clips if you see them. Share the podcast. The more it gets out there, the more people it could, cross your fingers, help or in any kind of way, even if it's a small amount, just know you're not alone out there. And I will see you on the next episode of Manual Not Included.
Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.